Bag, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of our presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. Beat one code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. Beat one thing.
What's going on? What is growing on? What is growing on? I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC, and this is B1 Ag. Here at B1 Ag, we focus on Black agriculture as it pertains to Black agricultural production, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, and economics, all for the Black family and for the Black community. I hope you're doing well. And today we're going to talk about your boy, Bill Gates. Bill Gates, we've been doing a lot of stories about Bill Gates and synthetic meats, but the story lines, if we connect the dots, are starting to lead to a much more, a broader picture of Bill Gates really implanting himself and consolidating the food system and placing himself at the top of that food system. And today we're really posing the question: do you trust Bill Gates to feed you? That's a real question. Do you trust Bill Gates, this computer guy, to feed you and your family, your loved ones? Because at the end of the day, that is the goal that is showing to be his goal, is he wants to be the one who is in charge of and also the financial benefactor of feeding America and our kids. So do you trust Bill Gates to feed you? Farmer Brown, let's get started.
First, I just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well, vigilant, getting ready for the cold season, looking out for what is called SAD, seasonal anxiety disorder. When we think about what this season represents, this is a time where you have a lot of festivals, harvest festivals, for people to still celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, even Halloween. Halloween isn't necessarily good food, it's the candy. There's a lot of consumption going on. And so as we deep dive into this discussion today, I would like the family to just kind of internalize, we all have to eat, regardless of what part of the diaspora we come from, no matter what our ideologies, no matter which side of the aisle, if you on this bird that you are, we all have to eat. And sometimes, like you said, connecting the dots, you really have to connect the dots of the world that we're operating in. We know that money talks. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at fiat currency, we know that that's what's going to drive legislation. We know that that's what's going to influence the temporary powers that be in decisions as far as, what programs are we going to implement? What are the ways we're going to build back better as this controlled demolition is going on? And so I just hope the family would kind of be able to really look at these, the imagery we're going to show you today. We're going to basically do a little bit of talking, but I think today is going to be mainly visual. And I want us to internalize what this means. And not only looking at this man, this is, I imagine I probably way more than Bill Gates. One-on-one, I could probably take him, but we got to look at the bigger picture of, now, if this person is feeding us, what does this look like for today? What does this look like for the future? I look forward to get deep diving into this, fam.
Now, we all know McDonald's is one of the biggest fast food chains in probably the world. And they just released the McPlant burger. That's the McDonald's version of their meatless burger called the McPlant Burger, and it's now available in 258 McDonald's. And they launched this, select testing markets worldwide in a partnership with Beyond Meat. And we all know that in 2017, Bill Gates made a $75 million investment into Beyond Meat. He also made a very large investment into Impossible Meats, which is the same burger that is at Burger King. So he's as far as competition is concerned, there is no competition with Bill Gates. He's trying to supply the world or the food system, and with this plant-based meat, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when you couple it with his push for climate change and zero carbon emissions, saying that we need to cut livestock, we don't need to raise these cows and use them for beef because they're contributing to climate change. We need to go plant-based. He goes and buys 250,000 acres of the prime farmland that he says he wants to use for experimentation, and then pushes the world. He's pushing the world to go towards plant-based meats, but he's also firmly planted himself to be the benefactor of the world going to plant-based meats by being the one who supplies this plant-based meat as well. And we're also going to go a little dive a little deeper, because those jabs that the country is divided over, since 1998, at least since 1998, they have been researching, and we've done a story on this. They've been researching about making those jabs edible. So when you have this computer guy who's definitely a supporter of Dr. Jabinsky, now they're trying to make jabby meals. Are they trying to make jabby meals? Bump a Happy Meal. Is he trying to push jabby meals onto everyone? Because the mRNA, they do have a way to make it edible, and we will show you that as well.
Pull up the first infographic from the thumbnail. Let's break this down. Like I said, I want the family to see this visually. Here at B1 Ag, we like to be very concise. We believe in receipts. We're in an age of fake news, fact checkers, and so it is our intent that we don't want to do anything that's conjecture. We don't like to deal in conspiracy theory. And I know there is a school of thought like, man, why y'all keep talking about this man? We need to handle our own business. Don't worry about this man. This person has injected themselves in our food system. One of the reasons we really stress the support of Black farmers and Black agriculture as a whole is to not put ourselves in a position as a people, as a group, as a community, however we frame ourselves, to where we're dependent on any faction, whether it's the Gates guy, whether it's somebody over the ocean. And so look at this. And so up to the top left hand, these are his land holdings, everything marked in green. A lot of the melanated family happen to live in these areas. This is actually 268,984 acres. To the bottom of that, you see the computer. And so many of us are attached to these computers, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. There is definitely a dependency, even if it's for business reasons. Computers are very efficient. Well, we wouldn't be talking to you right now if we didn't have a computer. And so when it comes to the way we conduct commerce, he's locked himself into this field. And then up to the top left-hand corner to the right, you'll see the Svalbard Global Seed Bank. So one could say, okay, man, maybe this man is just smart. He realizes that food flips harder than crack. And so he's just, he's got the bread, so he's going to make wise food investments. And so we're not going to eat these seeds. And this is in Sweden. For the family that understands geography, Sweden isn't in Africa, Sweden isn't nowhere near where melanated people originate. We know technology exists. If we just want to make sure that every continent, every landmass has a seed bank, just in case of a worst case scenario, it would definitely make sense to have one of these seed banks everywhere where any group of people live. But for it to be in Sweden, I think that's very interesting. And as a side note, not to digress, look at the jab dynamic in Sweden, very different than the rest of the world. We also see Beyond Meat. And so when bro was talking about, we think about McDonald's and Burger King, this is where they're slowly inserting this plant-based diet. Like I said, we totally here at B1 Ag, we definitely see the value in a plant-based diet. We know some of the largest mammals in the planet, whether you're talking about animals or gorillas, they eat plants and they're strong. And so there's definitely a genuine value in a plant-based diet. But when you have somebody who's driven by capitalism, neither of us have ever sat down with this person to know what their mind is, but there's definitely a drive to power. And I don't trust anybody that says they don't want power. You know, the smallest ant wants power, and that's why it's going to go to eat. Any living organism wants some form of power. And it's like the more power you get, I know Dr. Boyce touches upon it multiple times. Power is addictive. When we think about these concepts, the concept of Pinky and the Brain in the cartoons, there's always been this faction. I talked to the family about Gargamel, right, and the Smurfs. I've been on that lately with my kids. There's always been this push to control the world. There's always been this push. Bro was talking about 12 monkeys, if he wants to go into that here in a second. There's always been this push. Now, how can I get the world in the grips of my hands? As we have this conversation, I want the family not only to look at, okay, this individual has put himself within this field, but what can we do to create the counter to this? When we talk about compensatory code, if somebody's coming at you with 5, you want to come at them with 6. And then modern meadow. And I think this is definitely something that the family, I encourage you to look up. Along with Modern Meadow and Hampton Creek Foods, it's a startup company working on plant-based, protein-based egg substitutes beyond meat. And then there's Modern Meadow, a company using animal stem cells and tissue engineering to create meat and leather via 3D printing. And so we're talking about incorporating technology with your food. When we think about, we've been stressing it for the last few months about the black farmers aren't getting any help. They're not getting any capital. We know they don't need headlines. They don't need pat on the backs. They need capital. And we see that that capital is not being infused in the black agricultural community. White farmers are suffering as well. So what we understand is, okay, there's a valuation on making the scientists our farmers and getting rid of the people who actually go in the field and produce food. So once again, do you trust Bill Gates to feed you?
You know how, like, I remember when we were kids, you know, there was a comedian, Robin Harris, you know, one of his snaps, the old test tube, baby. Now it's test tube food. You know, they're trying to feed us test tube food instead of, you know, the natural foods that we're, you know, that the Most High put on this planet for us, you know, test tube food. Some of y'all might be okay with it. You know, I prefer, you know, something naturally, organically grown and, you know, that was made by nature, you know, for us to eat. Which infographic would you like to go into next, Brown?
You know, breaking down his investments. Once again, you know, you don't want to beat anybody over the head, but we see how technology is changing. We see how communication is changing. It's very important to us that we get this information to the people, whether it's one person, whether it's 100 people, whether it's 1,000. I would hate for the family to get in a situation where, you know, we've been so detached from learning how to grow food, learning how to distribute food within a community that the only way we can learn is through one of these devices. We see that these devices, the concept of fact checkers, the concept of shadow banning, we see that the brother Rizza Islam, this is the 6th page he's had just talking to the family about healthcare decisions that's been shut down. We know on the back end here at B1 Ag, there are interesting factions that would rather, you know, us promote the degradation of our community, rather us promote the ratchetness versus the righteousness, rather promoting products versus production. All of these dynamics are real. And as we're speaking right now, we still do have the opportunity to Google, some of the sources to really learn about food. We do have the healthyblackfood.com where we go into detail about how to start, how to grow your own food, how to start a garden. There are still a lot of resources available, gardening, canning, farming. And I would hope that the Melanated family is putting 2 and 2 together about the links that I'm not going to say powers that be, the wannabe powers that be are going to control the food system. We kind of smile about it because you want to smile about it to avoid being sad. We like to be optimistic here. We see a bright future if we're able to buy into this as a community. It's not going to be everybody, but if we get a critical mass of us here in 2021 to understand the gravity of this moment, then come 2023, 2025, regardless of what mandates are in place, regardless of what so-called restrictions are in place, we will have the tools we need, the intellectual and experiential tools we need to be Birdman in any weather when it comes to our food security.
We have another website. They put together an interesting depiction of Bill Gates, but it's very accurate. Another website they put together is very accurate as to how he is consolidating the food system, basically funneling all of us into shopping with him. And this is the graphic right here. Let me move the banner. Like he's really seeing himself as the quote unquote Burger King.
We've heard the concept data is the new gold. When we think about social media, Facebook, what's the product? What are they selling? It's the data. It's people's shopping habits. And so data looting, collecting massive amounts of data from farmers in order to control input, supply, and demand. I mean, I'm going to send different people out. What is it that you need? What is it that you use? What is it that you're lacking? Okay, I'm going to corner the market on these things. We think about synthetic food. And so this is when we talk about Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger. Yes, once again, we understand plant-based is very healthy. But when we also know that, okay, when these plants are being genetically modified or tampered with, okay, there can be some unintended or intended consequences. But pushing for synthetic meats and profiting from it under the guise of fighting climate change. I promise, once again, it ain't like I got just all of this divine connectivity, which we do. But after this pandemic clears, the new pandemic is going to be climate change. Mark my words on it, family. And so once again, the guy who came with the appointments with Dr. Jabinski already has an answer for this climate change. There will be climate lockdowns. There will be restrictions on the type of farms and operations that growers are going to be able to operate. And so the answer is going to be synthetic food. Just like we have synthetic messenger RNA, we're going to have synthetic food. Just mark my words. Agribusiness investments. Here at B1 Ag, when we talk about when we talk about these stories, what are things that the melanated family can do? We know that there's different forms of capital. All capital isn't limited to fiat. Some people have social capital, cultural capital, spiritual capital. These black farmers need your prayers, but he's profiting from direct investments in many agribusinesses around the world. I'm cornering this market. Agribusiness research, pushing corporate ag research agendas through grant making. Like I said, I know how this operates personally, just professionally in my personal path. And so what happens is if you work at an institution or you work for a corporation where your funding is dependent upon grants or some sort of private funding, guess what? If I'm the one funding you, that means whatever you research, whether it's good or bad, I want your results. I want your newsletter. I want whatever you're going to report to be pro whatever it is I'm selling. It don't matter if it's changing people's sexes. It don't matter if people are turning into aliens, whatever. I want it to be pro whatever it is I'm selling. And so I'm funding you to do this. You know, we talk about butter biscuits. These are platinum butter biscuits on another level. Intellectual property rights, facilitating tighter corporate control over seeds. So once again, when we talk about this concept of patenting, if I've genetically, and this is within the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't know if you have that infographic to put up later. We talked about this before. Back in July of what it was, 96 or 2006, one of them, the Supreme Court passed legislative ruling that said if the genes aren't natural, meaning if I change the genes of the plant, the animal, whatever, then it can be patented. And so this same science applies to seeds. Meaning, you were talking earlier about a concept of, okay, you got these GMO crops out in rural America. Okay, the wind blows it, and so these seeds will go into somebody's private property. And so now these genetically modified seeds, which are patented, now that they're on somebody's property, if you got the bread to take this to court, which the Gates faction does, hey, I'm going to need this property where my seeds are on. And so this is something for, you know, if we got any producers on here, you need to think about this. You might be doing everything organic, but if the plot next to yours happens to be GMO and those seeds fly over to your plot, guess what? That's now subject to somebody to say, hey, this is my area. Lobbying. When we talk about the lobbies in the different governments around the world, we know money talks. I've never seen picket signs, and it's good to sign petitions, right? It's great. But ultimately, it's money. Money is what's going to drive your Congress, your Senate. And it's pressuring governments to introduce laws to privatize seeds and other policies that favor industrial agriculture. And then last, land grabbing. Acquiring massive tracts of land, Gates is now the largest farmland owner in North America. We're not making any of these things up. We're not making any of these up. At the same time, we're not coming from a doom and gloom. Oh my God, the world is coming to an end. I tend to believe if you're mud and blood, you're no more or less powerful than any of us, you know, occupying this time and space right now. But everything goes to focus and codification. What we just showed was a code, and believe me, he's not the only one doing this, right? And at the end of the day, he's not the master. Bill Gates is a puppet. Just like anybody else that we perceive as having all of this power, they're puppets, but they understand this concept of cooperative. Best believe Bezos, Gates, Musk, they cooperate. Hey, you got the tech end, I got this, I got the land, bro. Oh, you got the media to influence the people. Oh, you're the one that runs the labels that can influence the influencers. Hey, let us aggregate our powers together and control the world. I'm being funny, but, you know, once again, you follow what works. We see that this has worked for this computer guy to end up being the main stakeholder in what feeds the planet. And so how can we apply this same science within the melanated community, specifically for B1 purposes of feeding ourselves and making sure we go into the next phase of whatever this turns into as major stakeholders? We want to create our own tables, family.
Do you trust Bill Gates to feed you? Again, they've just announced, the release of the McPlant burger, which is made by Beyond Meat, which Bill Gates is heavily invested in. Now, McDonald's, they're reporting at this moment $5.9 billion in sales per quarter. So per quarter, that's 4 months, $5.9 billion in sales in just 4 months. And that's up 57% from pre-COVID lockdown. Pre-lockdown, it's up 57%. So now they're introducing this plant-based burger. Now, Burger King already has their Impossible Burger, which was released last year, which is also another Gates investment. But now we want to go into the Jabby meals. This is where this comes in at, because they have been researching and studying, and we know that Bill Gates, he already supplies the potatoes, the carrots, and tomatoes for McDonald's. All that farmland he bought, he supplies ingredients for McDonald's right now already. And now these plant-based burgers. That's part of his investment portfolio as well. So Brian, you want to go down with the edible ABJs? These jabby
Once
meals?
again, we don't make this up. One way of generating edible axanes relies on bacterium, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, to deliver into plant cells the genetic blueprints for viral or bacterial antigens, proteins that elicit a targeted immune response in the recipient. The diagram illustrates the production of axanes potatoes, fries, hash browns. And so first what you see is this cell. This goes into this genetic engineering, cut a little snippet off of the plant, whether this is your lettuce, whether it's your tomato leaf. You're going to put it in a petri dish. We think about the 12 monkeys in these sciences. Expose the leaf to bacteria carrying an antigen gene and antibiotic resistant gene. Allow bacteria to deliver the genes into leaf cells. This bacteria could be what do they call it? The iris vey. And so I'm going to put this in the petri dish, and then you transfer the genes to a dead cell. Expose the leaf to an antibiotic to kill the cells that lack the new genes. Wait for the surviving gene-altered cells to multiply and form a clump called a callus. From that callus, step 4, allow callus to sprout shoots and roots. So basically, this goes into this seed modification. Pay attention to let's not get conspiratorial. This is science. They say follow the science. Put in soil. Within 3 months, the plantlets will grow into plants bearing antigen-laden axane-based potatoes. Yeah, the fries, the hash browns, the mashed potatoes. We're not making this up. I'm an artist, but I didn't, when we come on these podcasts, we like to be very diligent in studying. We don't want to give anybody any false information or alarm anybody, but this is what it is. Yes, sister, this is what it is. Edibles. Edibles have become popular with the cannabis, right? But what happens when it's in your value meal? And like I said, I'm not in any McDonald's boardrooms, and so I don't know what they've discussed. But the question lies again: do you trust Bill Gates to feed you?
Not in the least bit. Not in the least bit. Like, this is the guy, made a great point. He is trying to replace our farmers with scientists. Have us eating test tube food. Test tube food. He feels like he can make food better than the Most High. He can do it better.
I got to play devil's advocate. It's hard, but I have to play devil's advocate. And so, okay, we do have a growing population, right? Every living being human on this planet has to eat something to survive. So, and this, once again, this goes into justification. Absolutely. Everybody has to eat. And so we know this scientist, we were talking the other day about the kids. We're the mothers and fathers of civilization. And what Gates represents, he's one of our rogue kids. He's one of our rogue kids. We didn't apply that rod of correction, and this kid has gotten out of hand and created chaos in the house. And so we can either let the kid come up with the way that people in the household are going to eat, going against the will of the Most High, or we as the mothers and fathers of civilization step back in, black in to the garden, black to nature, black to the ecosystem that our forefathers and foremothers were put in to be stewards over. Because it's either or. People have to eat. Are we reasserting ourselves? Are we applying the different capitals? Before there was such thing as a dollar, before there was such thing as a computer, before there was such thing as mRNA and all of these different things we hear these mad scientists going through, the Most High endowed us with everything we'll ever need and everything we'll ever have to be the stewards of this proverbial garden. And so we either have a choice to let somebody else provide this food or get black to our essence and grow our own. I don't think we'll be spanked for it. You know, not to digress, some people want to be spanked. I notice when my children have to be conscientious of how I say this. My children respect counsel. My children respect stern counsel. Hey, you just touched something you shouldn't have. Dad does what dad has to do. And right after that, my children hug my leg. They respect that. Daddy, you kept me safe. Daddy, I was about to do something that could have hurt me. You know, you chastened me and you showed me that, hey, if you put your hand in this hole right here, electricity. If you eat this, if you go into this bin right here and eat this medicine, something can happen. We don't want to hurt the baby. We don't want to hurt the baby. And so as the mothers and fathers of civilization, it comes a point where we see where this household is going. And we're left with a choice, family.
And let's make the right choice. Here at B1 Ag, we're going to continue pushing, making the choice to push the black algorithm. You know, we're coming up with agricultural solutions in real time. We'd like to stay ahead of the curve, stay solution-based, just to make sure that we all stay well-fed and safe. And when we say safe, we really mean safe, because you'll hear that word, words like, we want you to be healthy and safe, but you need to put quotations around that because their versions of healthy and safe do not align with what we envision as truly being healthy and safe. So we're going to continue to push this black algorithm, and we do need your help. We need you to like, share, and subscribe. Share it, share the story. Let us continue to grow this conversation. We need everybody to know this, man. They're slipping. They may be slipping the doggone. Like I say, you're going to get your kid a Happy Meal, and then you might be feeding them a Jabby Meal. Think about that. Feeding your kids Jabby Meals.
And we know these companies are exempt from any sort of punishment if something goes wrong.
It's like the world's biggest setup. It's like a big setup.
Magic works when you're honest. Everything we're talking about today, we are not getting these from secret sites. We're not getting these from, some dark vault. This is available to the populace. Now, if you decide you want to be distracted by all of these other things going on around the world, that's on you. But I told you what I'm doing. I'm LeBron. I want to get to this basketball goal. I want to do this. I want to get to the basketball goal to get a point so I can win. Now, if I can distract you with, my crossover, if I can just, truck you, that's on you. But I want to win. We know we're in a time where ethnic demographics are changing. We know Al-Kibalon, Africa, has the youngest population on the planet. This happens to be where the Gates Foundation has done most of their work in figuring out how to get carbon emissions to zero. Their research, that word research, has made its way to Turtle Island, where, we have this same thing happening. This brown group, it makes me evoke the ancestor Francis Cress Welsing. And this is why, once again, getting back to the garden, planting these seeds is so much more than just growing food. There's some things that you can't learn in a book that you learn from seeing how life grows. You understand dominant versus recessive. You understand the need of resources. You understand that roots are always constantly competing for nutrients under the soil. When we think of the wealth that's in the land and always reaching towards the light, the sun, we need this water.
I also placed for those watching live on YouTube and Facebook, I placed the link for the petition to sign for our black farmers to receive their funds from the American Rescue Plan their debt relief. They were promised $4 billion in debt relief. And that was back on March 11th of this year. October going into November, they still have not received their money for debt relief. There is a petition that is going around on change.org. This is the link on this banner that you'll see at the bottom of the screen. But I did also place that direct link into the comment sections if you're watching this live on YouTube or Facebook. Click on that and sign. It's just a small step that we can do to make sure that our Black farmers do receive their legislated, like this is what the government said they were going to do. So we want to make sure that they do receive their debt relief. It is any bit helps for our Black farmers. We want to make sure that they get all that they are due for them.
This country can't print enough money. It cannot allocate enough digital currency to repay what has been taken from the ancestors and what has been taken from the Black farmers. I agree with you that whatever little bit helps. These farmers don't need pats on the back. They need capital. They need people to shop with them. They need equipment. They need legal protection. We saw one of the efforts of the Gates move is to take people's land, encroaching on people's land. I know this personally. I meet some of these people. They're in their 70s and 80s, and they've spent the last 20, 30 years of their lives just trying to keep people from taking their land. You're out here in a rural space, and so nobody knows your struggle. So one of the purposes of B1 Ag is just to bring it to the family's attention. No matter where you're at within this diaspora, what we call Turtle Island, North America, there is a Black farmer somewhere near you that, likes and clicks are cool, but hey, come shop with me. Tell some other people that I exist. We need support. Let us not depend on the faction that took all of this and created this mess. Let us not depend on the kids to bring order to the house. If I ask my kids, hey, do you want to eat? You want to eat these vegetables or these cookies? They're always going to go for the cookies. Long-term implication of eating them cookies, your teeth are going to go bad. It's unsustainable, right? Diabetes. So there's a reason why the Most High put certain groups as the parents of civilization. Some groups are being used as that chastening rod to get us back in order. I'm not going to get too deep into Nimrod and, the Tower of Babel. We got to a point where we started splicing pigs. Sister Jade Arendelle, she was talking the other day about they've successfully transplanted a pig kidney into a human. Not to get too biblical, but this was going on back in the days of Noah, where the kids had gotten out of line and started just doing all of these ungodly things. Like, hey, I didn't make my garden this way. And, since I'm the creator of all, I'm just going to, reset. And so you can go with the kids' concept of Build Back Better, global reset, or we can reset it on our own. And we have the power. There's nothing that can stop us, family. Trust me. To the degree that we decide this is important to us, this is what we want to do, the best weapon, one of the best weapons we can use to fight this is the desire to feed one another, the desire to support those who already know how to grow, and the desire to make sure that our young people know how to feed themselves going into the future. I don't have to convert anybody. I don't have to get anybody to look at the world the way I do. You ain't even got to push the lever, right? Because you can't eat a vote. You can't eat left or right, but you can eat something that's produced from a seed. And the degree that we can get on code around that, game over.
Now at the bottom of your screen, this URL, this was compiled. This list was compiled by shopblack.us. Now this is from what we can find. This is the most comprehensive list of Black-owned farms and food gardens. Because I'm not sure where you're watching from, but click on. I put this link also in the live chat and the live comments. Click on this link. Try to see if you can find a Black farmer or food producer near you, and shop with them. Spend money with them, because I can guarantee you the food that you get from them is going to be healthy. I can guarantee you that this food that you get from them is going to be safe because they were made. It's like they're made FUBU for us by us. So let's make sure that we shop and don't let it, just how FUBU went out of business. We don't want FUBU to go out of business. Better Buggy, they had a great concept, galvanizing these farmers and shipping fresh fruits and vegetables out to our people. But they had to go out of business. We can't let our Black farmers go out of business. We can't let the business of growing food be left into the hands of people like this guy. Do y'all trust this guy to feed you? Like, really? I mean, even if you don't trust him, by not supporting our Black farmers, you are being complicit in this guy feeding you. By not learning how to grow your own food, you're being complicit in this guy being your farmer. This guy making decisions on what is healthy and safe for you. Quote unquote, healthy and safe. And you just might be subjecting yourself to a jabby meal. So let's support our Black farmers. Let's make sure that their talents, their gift of growing and providing food does not go to waste. Let us not let that knowledge, that survival skill of growing food, sustaining yourself, recharging yourself, refueling yourself, let's not hand that over, just not hand that over to this guy. That guy right there. Don't just give it to him. Come on, y'all. We know better. We know better.
What'd he say? Epstein's dead.
Oh, man. Oh. But yeah, man.
Dog is trapped in a corner, family. Our ancestors would kill to have an opportunity that we have right now. We keep seeing this encroaching, this attack because somebody's operating from a place of desperation right now. They're banking on us not getting on code. They're banking on it.
But we know better than that. We know better than to not get on code as well. History has shown what happens when we don't get on code. You'll just be subject to whatever they want to do.
That's why I say these people are puppets. When we talk about him, it's not him as the individual. He represents a cell. He represents a cell that is being coordinated by a larger principality. What does it say in the good book? Fear not, it's not the flesh, but it's the principalities of the air. Mad scientists. They're pawns. They're pawns.
So if you want to hit us up, make sure you can email us at b1aghiphop@gmail.com. b1aghiphop@gmail.com. We're very responsive. Also, if you'd like to donate to the platform, you can hit us up on our Cash App at $B1AgHipHop. Again, in the chat, this is the list of Black-owned farms and food gardens, at least the most comprehensive list that we have to date. We'll be working on, making sure that we figure out more, how to make a better list, a larger list, add to the list that's already there, because we really need to identify and spend our money with our Black-owned farms and visit our food gardens. I know they have a big 7-acre food garden in Atlanta, Georgia. I can't wait to go visit just to see it for myself. This is a beautiful thing. Free food garden at that. A free food garden. How about that? So we're going to continue to push this Black algorithm. Like, share, subscribe to the B1 Ag, the Daily Bread podcast on YouTube. Let's grow this conversation. Let's make sure that we are more aware of what is going on with our food system, about becoming more food secure, and making sure that we are not being subject to jabby meals and salmonella. Because salmonella is running rampant in this country right now. They're saying throw away all of your onions. Like if you have onions that you purchased within the last, they say throw them out. Everything is like salmonella is all. They're talking about cilantro, onions, your lettuce. The food system is not safe, y'all. It's not safe. All those food containers, all those shipping containers that are stuck out, the food system is not safe. It's broken. It's not safe. It's a matter of safety, not just for jabby meals. It's it's not safe. We need to be more conscious of what we eat, because it's just not safe. So if you really want to know, no, I don't trust that man to feed me. So what I do know is going on with my granddaddy, who was a farmer, and I was out there in the fields with my grandfather. I know what I ate. Our cows, hey, I had no problem eating our steaks because I fed that. I gave it its water. I know it's safe because I fed it. The corn, the peas, and the beans and everything we ate, and the greens and the okra, I knew it was safe. How you know it was safe, John Henry? Because I grew it. I sat there, I watered that. I watched it grow. And then I picked it, washed it off. And then Granny put her black woman magic on it and made it delicious. Even more delicious. That's healthy and safe. So let's get black to that. Black to the garden. Farmer Brown, if the people really want to know something, what do they need to do, bro?
The sister said that those mad scientists represent the darkness. We represent the original. We know the darkness's goal was to challenge the Most High. You made this perfection, I can make it better. And so as soldiers, as representatives of the Most High, to show how we make it do what it do. If we really want to know something and fight this darkness, let's learn how to grow something.
There it is, y'all. Have a beautiful, wonderful, blessed, love-filled day. Let's keep pushing forward, stay in a growth state of mind, and let's grow our knowledge about this food system, and becoming more food secure. We're going to continue to push this Black algorithm, y'all. This is B1 Ag. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. And until next time, see you soon. Peace.